They didn't care when you left. But now it's killing them inside. Dark psychology. Sometimes people don't realize the damage they've done until they're left alone with the silence they created. My friends, this one's going to hit different, because there's a strange kind of pain that only shows up when you're finally gone. Not when you slam the door, not when you block them, but when the silence becomes real. That's when it starts to eat them alive. That's when the very absence they once ignored starts whispering truths they can't run from anymore. You see, they didn't care when you left. But now, it's killing them inside. Hey folks, imagine this. You're pouring your heart into a glass. Every drop of love, time, energy, and loyalty. And they just stand there, sipping it like it's endless. No thank you, no effort, just entitlement. That was your life. You gave, they took. And every time you tried to pull back, they smirked like you wouldn't dare, because in their mind, you were safe, predictable, always coming back. But one day, you didn't. You finally put the glass down, and they didn't feel the thirst until the well ran dry. They didn't believe you'd leave because you were always there. You forgave too easily. You explained too much. You stayed too long. They got used to the idea that no matter what they did or didn't do, you'd still be waiting, still texting, still hoping. But you weren't waiting. You were breaking, quietly, privately, like a tree that stands tall in storms, but eventually snaps in stillness. And by the time they noticed the silence, it wasn't a pause. It was a goodbye. They thought your silence was a strategy, that you were playing games. But folks, it wasn't that. It was survival. You weren't trying to teach them a lesson. You were trying to remember who you were before they made you feel like you were too much for wanting the bare minimum. You weren't punishing them. You were protecting yourself. That's the difference. That's the truth they never saw coming. You know, the Stoics used to say, "He who angers you controls you." But here's the twist. When you left, you didn't leave in anger. You left in peace, and peace is what haunts people the most. Rage can be dismissed. But silence lingers. It makes them sit with their choices, replay their words, feel the gap that your presence used to fill. And the wildest part? They'll never tell anyone it's killing them. They'll wear their pride like armor. But inside, they're folding. They're checking your socials, rereading old messages, wondering how you moved on without closure, without chaos, without needing them to explain a damn thing. It's funny, isn't it? How they once thought your loyalty meant weakness. How they assumed you'd always be around, like background music in their life. But now, the music's stopped, and all that's left is the sound of their own regret. You didn't just walk away, you evolved, you healed, you rose, and they didn't see that coming. That's the beauty of silent growth. It doesn't ask for attention, but it demands respect. So if this is your story, if you've ever felt like you were the only one trying, the only one loving, the only one breaking while they stayed numb, just know this. You weren't weak for staying, and you're not cold for leaving. You're wise. You're rising. And their delayed regret? That's not your burden to carry. Say it with me in the comments. Write it loud. I choose peace, not pain. Drop that in below. And if you're ready to stop looking back, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this is just the beginning of your comeback. Number 1. They thought your presence was permanent. The biggest mistake people make is thinking your loyalty is a life sentence. Let's get this straight. They didn't care when you left because they never truly believed you would. To them, your presence wasn't a blessing. It was a guarantee. They got used to you being there, responding, reassuring, forgiving, showing up like clockwork even when your heart was breaking. They confused consistency with captivity. And that's where they got it twisted. Because love isn't a cage, it's a choice. And the day you chose you instead of chasing them, that was the day they lost access to something they thought was theirs forever. It's like planting a tree in your yard and ignoring it for years. No water, no care, just assuming it'll always be there, standing tall. But one day you wake up and it's gone, uprooted, vanished. That's how they felt when you left. Shocked, confused. Wait, they're actually gone? Yes, because folks, even the strongest trees will fall if you stop nurturing them. You weren't waiting around. You were wilting in silence, and they didn't even notice. You see, most people don't process love as a living thing. Something that needs energy, attention, presence. They process it as a convenience. And when you've always been the one who shows up first, who says sorry first, who fixes the distance, they stop believing you're capable of leaving. But here's the truth. They weren't in love with you. They were in love with your availability. With the way you were always there, always easy to reach, always ready to forgive. And they thought that would never change. But something broke inside you, didn't it? Something clicked. That day when your calls went unanswered, when your needs were dismissed, when your tears dried on their shoulder because they stopped listening. That's when you realized you can't force someone to value what they think they'll never lose. That's when you stopped hoping. And more than that, you stopped explaining. Because love shouldn't feel like a one-person performance on a stage that's always half empty. They thought you'd return like you always did, that your silence was just another pause, a reset. But the silence kept stretching. And suddenly, it wasn't peace they were sitting in, it was panic. That's when the stories started forming in their head. Have they moved on? Do they miss me? Are they really done? Because now, for the first time, they're facing the one reality they never prepared for. You were serious. Why is it so hard for them to understand? Because in their mind, they had time. They thought love was elastic, bend it, stretch it, ignore it, and it'll bounce back. But no, real love has a breaking point. And the day you hit yours, the old you was gone. The you who would have sent that long message? Quiet. The you who would have checked in just to make sure they were okay? Disappeared. The you who used to hold on to hope like it was your lifeline? Buried. And now they're starting to see the contrast, the emotional gap between when you were there and now that you're not. It's what psychologists call presence trauma, the overwhelming emotional recognition that someone who was once a consistent source of comfort is simply gone. No warning, no closure, just empty space where loyalty used to live. And that space, it echoes, loudly. But you, my friend, you are not empty. You are becoming full again, full of self-respect, full of clarity, full of peace, because you didn't leave to hurt them. You left because staying would have destroyed you. And that realization, that bold step towards self-love, they never thought you'd have the strength to take it. But you did. And look at you now. You are not their emotional crutch. You are not a placeholder for when they feel lonely. You were a whole human being, full of love, and they treated your presence like background noise. Until one day, the music stopped. And now, it's the silence that keeps them up at night. Write this in the comments if you feel this in your soul. My presence was a privilege. Say it, own it, let the world know. You were never a backup plan. You were the light in their storm, and they chose to ignore it. And don't go anywhere, because what's coming next will break down the emotional mechanics of regret in ways they'll never admit. But you deserve to understand. Stay with me. Number 2, they underestimated the power of detachment. You don't always have to yell to make someone hear you. Sometimes the loudest thing you'll ever say is nothing. They thought silence was weakness. They thought you were playing games, that your silence was just another attempt to get their attention, to bait a response, to stir the pot. But what they didn't realize is this: you weren't silent because you wanted them to chase you. You were silent because you were done. And nothing hits harder than the absence of someone who used to care with their whole soul. At first, they weren't shaken. They thought you'd be back, just like always, that you were just cooling off, that eventually the itch would crawl back into your heart, and you'd text them again, forgive them again, explain yourself again, because that's the cycle they were used to. You react, you cry, you try, but this time you didn't. This time you stepped back and stayed back. And that, my friend, is when everything began to crumble inside them. It's like removing gravity. Suddenly everything that felt stable in their world starts to float away. Their control over you, gone. Their ability to rely on your reaction, gone. Their comfort in your loyalty, gone. They didn't realize how much of their emotional security came from knowing you still cared. And when that energy disappeared, it wasn't peace they felt. It was panic. Because detachment doesn't scream, it doesn't threaten, it doesn't beg, it just vanishes. It closes the door without slamming it. It locks it without leaving a note. That's what you did. Not to punish them, not to manipulate, but because staying in that emotional loop started to feel like a betrayal to yourself. You weren't being mean. You were being wise. And let's be honest, this kind of detachment, it's terrifying to people who think they own your emotions, who think they can push you to your limit and you'll still come running, who've mistaken your loyalty for lack of options. But the truth is, you weren't out of options. You were out of patience. You were out of explanations, out of tears, out of nights wondering what you did wrong when you were the only one actually trying to hold it all together. And now they're feeling it. That tension in their chest when they see your name but can't reach out. That sick feeling when they check your profile and realize you're not sad, you're glowing. That pit in their stomach when they realize your silence isn't a game. It's your healing. It's your evolution. And they're no longer part of that journey. Why is this so hard for them to process? Because detachment is invisible at first. It doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in slowly, through all the moments you were dismissed, overlooked, taken for granted. Every time they rolled their eyes at your vulnerability, every time they made you feel like you were asking for too much when all you wanted was effort. That's when it started. And by the time they noticed, it was too late. You were already emotionally gone. Here's the lie they believed: that silence means weakness, that detachment means indifference, that you didn't care. But here's the truth: they couldn't be more wrong. Detachment doesn't mean you didn't love them. It means you finally loved yourself more. It means you had to save yourself from the slow burn of being unseen, unheard, unvalued. That kind of love isn't weak. That's strength most people will never understand. It takes power to walk away with your dignity, to choose peace over chaos, to stop explaining your worth and start living it. And now, while they spiral in their confusion, you're rising in your stillness. That's what they never expected. They thought their absence would wreck you, but it's your absence that's wrecking them. So if you're sitting in that quiet now, if you're rebuilding, if you're finally starting to feel free, remember this: your detachment is not a loss, it's a boundary, it's a resurrection. It's you reclaiming the parts of yourself they never bothered to cherish. Say it in the comments. Let it be your power statement today. My silence is my strength. Write it, feel it, show them, show yourself. Show the world that you don't have to scream to be heard, and that real healing is done in silence, not noise. Because what's coming next? That's when they start to feel everything they thought they'd never lose. Stay with me. It only gets deeper from here. Number 3. They were emotionally numb until you went quiet. Some people won't hear you until you stop speaking. And when you do, the silence becomes unbearable. There's something haunting about realizing someone's gone. Not because they made a scene, not because they left in flames, but because they simply stopped trying. That's what you did, and that's what's killing them inside now. You didn't storm out of their life. You faded, and they didn't even notice until it was too late. You were once the heartbeat of that connection, the one checking in, the one giving second, third, and fourth chances, the one trying to understand when their behavior made no sense. And the saddest part, you weren't asking for the world, just to be seen, just to be met halfway, just to be heard the way you listened so deeply. But they couldn't, or wouldn't, meet you there. Maybe they were emotionally unavailable. Maybe they were just selfish. Maybe they were too numb to feel anything until everything was gone. You used to send the long messages, trying to explain how you felt without sounding too much. You used to reread conversations, hoping you didn't come across as needy when all you were doing was being human. You adjusted yourself, downplayed your emotions, made your needs smaller just to keep the peace. And what did they do? Shrugged, rolled their eyes, responded with cold silence or half-effort replies. They didn't hear your pain when it was quiet. They didn't hear your hurt when it was wrapped in a smile. They didn't hear the sadness in your laugh, the hesitation in your goodbyes, the way your energy started to dim every time you tried to hold the relationship together on your own. They weren't listening, not really. But now they hear everything. Because your silence, that's the loudest thing they've ever experienced. It's funny how that works, isn't it? When you were crying, they told you to stop being dramatic. When you were begging, they told you to calm down. When you were silent, they assumed you were fine. And now that you're gone, they're the ones crying behind closed doors. They're the ones looking for meaning in old texts. They're the ones sitting in the same silence they once ignored. And it's breaking them. You see, emotional numbness is a defense mechanism. When someone is used to receiving love without earning it, they stop valuing it. When someone is handed your presence without reciprocating it, they get lazy with it. It's not that they didn't care at all. It's that they didn't care enough. Not enough to change. Not enough to show up, not enough to fight for you the way you were always fighting for them. And the worst part, they didn't even ask. They didn't ask how you were really doing. They didn't ask what you needed, what you feared, what made you feel safe. They assumed that because you were strong, you didn't need anything. They mistook your resilience for being unbreakable. But even the strongest hearts can only take so much before they stop beating for the wrong people. Now, they're the ones scrolling through memories, trying to piece together the moment it all shifted, trying to pinpoint when your tone changed, when your presence felt lighter, when your soul started slipping through the cracks of their carelessness. And what they're realizing, far too late, is that they never really knew how close you were to giving up. You were already halfway out the door while they were busy playing it cool. Psychologists call this emotional neglect. It's not what someone does, it's what they fail to do. The check-ins that never happened, the apologies that were never given, the love that was never returned, and the cost. It's not always visible in the beginning, but the debt always comes due. And now it's showing up in every quiet night they spend replaying what they thought they had under control. But you're healing, quietly, powerfully, because you finally chose to stop screaming for someone who wouldn't even turn their head. You finally realized that love is not about being loud enough to be noticed. It's about being valued without having to beg. And that version of you who used to wait, who used to explain, who used to suffer in silence, you buried them. And in their place stands someone stronger, someone wiser, someone free. Say it with me in the comments. I won't beg to be seen. Let that affirmation hit deep. Let it be your reminder that your worth was never tied to someone else's ability to recognize it. And stay with me, because what's coming next will show you just how deep their regret really runs. It's only just begun. Number 4, they confused love with convenience. They didn't love you. They loved the version of you that asked for nothing and gave everything. Let's talk about the truth they never want to admit. The truth that's cutting into them now, like a dull blade they never saw coming. They didn't care when you left, because they were never truly in love with you. They were in love with the convenience of you, with the comfort, with the way you made life easier, warmer, softer, without ever asking them to step up. They weren't choosing you, they were using you, and at the time, you didn't even realize it, because you were too busy trying to prove you were enough. You thought love meant effort, loyalty, showing up through the storms. But to them, love was just about what they could get without having to give. That's not love, my friend. That's consumption. And they consumed every last drop of your presence until you were left drained and wondering why you always felt like too much and not enough at the same time. See, when love is one-sided, it doesn't feel heavy at first. It feels like hope, like potential, like maybe if I just love them a little harder, they'll change. But the longer you keep giving to someone who only takes, the heavier it gets. The more you start questioning your own worth, your own sanity, you start shrinking just to keep the peace, laughing at things that hurt, accepting silence as an answer. And every time you tell yourself, it's not that bad, it actually is. Because you're not supposed to feel alone in love. You're not supposed to wonder if you matter. But they never saw that, because they never had to. You made love easy for them. Too easy. You forgave when you shouldn't have. You explained when you had nothing left to say. You showed up when they didn't deserve your presence. And they got used to it. They started believing your heart would always be open, no matter how they treated it. They mistook your consistency for naivety, your grace for permission, your loyalty for weakness. But what they didn't realize is that even the strongest people have limits. And one day, without warning, You hit yours. You stopped chasing. You stopped waiting. You stopped asking to be loved back. And that's when the floor dropped beneath them. Not because they missed you, but because they missed what you did for them, what you gave, what you held together. And now they're waking up to a silence that wasn't there before. A stillness that used to be filled by your presence, your warmth, your attention. They're starting to feel the coldness of a world where you're no longer the one picking up the pieces, calming their storms, soothing their ego. Because now they're left with themselves. And that's the one person they were never ready to face. Why is this hitting them now? Because love by convenience only works when the supply is endless. When the person they've been taking for granted finally walks away, the illusion shatters. They're realizing the hard way that the energy you gave them wasn't common. It was rare. And they didn't lose you when you left. They lost you the moment they treated your love like it was disposable. Psychologically, this is called dependency withdrawal. They became emotionally reliant on the support you gave without ever realizing it. And when you cut that supply, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, it triggered a spiral. Not because they miss loving you, but because they miss being loved by you without doing the work. But that chapter is closed now. And you've finally stopped confusing love with sacrifice. You've stopped showing up for someone who only noticed you when you were useful. You've stopped pouring yourself out into hands that never bothered to hold you. And let me tell you something powerful. It's not your job to teach someone how to love you. It's not your responsibility to turn potential into effort. You are not a convenience. You are a choice. And if they couldn't choose you while they had you, they sure as hell don't deserve you now that you're gone. Write this in the comments right now. I am not your convenience. Let that affirmation set fire to every part of you that once settled for less. Let it be your reminder, your shield, your truth. Because when you finally stop being available to the ones who only show up when it benefits them, that's when you make room for something real. And we're not done yet. Stay with me, because what's coming next, that's the part where they start realizing you didn't just leave, you outgrew them. Number 5, they didn't expect you to outgrow them. The pain wasn't the end of you. It was the beginning of the version of you they'll never get access to again. Let's get one thing clear. They thought the pain would keep you stuck. They thought the heartbreak would paralyze you, that you'd stay broken and bitter, constantly looking back, constantly checking your phone, hoping they'd return. They imagined you as the one who could never move on. But what they never saw coming is that you weren't waiting in the ruins. You were rebuilding in silence. At first, yes, you shattered. You cried in the middle of the night when no one was watching. You had to remind yourself to eat. You couldn't hear that one song without your throat tightening. Every corner of your life echoed their absence. The weight of what they did, of what they didn't do, sat on your chest like a boulder. And they thought, yeah, they're still stuck on me. But no, what you were doing wasn't staying stuck. It was shedding. Because growth doesn't always look like confidence and clean breaks. Sometimes it's messy, it's lonely, it's raw. But while they were out there trying to distract themselves, pretending to be unbothered, scrolling, posting, laughing with people who only know a fraction of them, you were in the trenches of your own soul. You were facing your pain, sitting with it, letting it teach you. Not because you were weak, but because you were ready to evolve. You see, they didn't think you'd outgrow the version of you that begged, the version that stayed, that forgave, that tolerated. They thought that version was all you had to offer. But what they didn't know is that your heartbreak was your wake-up call. The pain didn't destroy you. It sharpened you. It revealed every place inside you that was still searching for external validation, still settling, still trying to prove your worth to someone who couldn't even see your value. And here's the part that really cuts them now. You didn't grow for revenge. You didn't glow up just to post a thirst trap or prove something to them. No, my friend. You grew because you finally remembered who the hell you were. You grew because you got tired of your worth being debated like it was negotiable. You grew because you realized that healing isn't about forgetting them. It's about choosing you. Psychologically, they never expected you to create emotional distance. They were banking on the attachment staying intact. They thought their absence would haunt you. But the more they pulled away, the more you started to see them clearly, not through the lens of love, but through the lens of truth. And the truth, they were never equipped to love you the way you needed. They weren't ready. Maybe they still aren't. They didn't expect that the very pain they caused would be the fire that forged a new version of you. One that doesn't chase, one that doesn't beg, one that doesn't hand their heart to people who only show up when it's convenient, one that doesn't need closure from the same person who shattered you in the first place. Now they're watching from the sidelines, maybe silently, maybe through mutual friends, maybe through your social media. They see the shift, your glow, your peace, your silence, your boundaries. And it's confusing to them because they don't recognize this version of you. This you is distant, calm, clear, powerful, not loud, not bitter, but unavailable. And nothing hurts more than realizing the person you once had is now out of emotional reach. Not because they hate you, but because they've simply outgrown what you brought into their life. They expected you to stay wounded. They expected you to stay emotionally stuck. But now, they're the ones stuck with the memory of a version of you who no longer exists. And that, my friend, is the torment. That's the part they'll never admit to anyone, not even themselves. But you know, you can feel it. The energetic shift, the way they hesitate, the way their energy lingers. Because even if they never say it out loud, they know what they lost. And deep down, they know they'll never find it again. Not in someone else, not in another version of you, because you've risen too far to be reached by the same hands that dropped you. Say it with me in the comments right now. I outgrew what once broke me. Write it, show it, breathe it. Let it be your reminder that you didn't just survive this, you transcended it. And don't go anywhere, because in the next part, we'll break down why your absence isn't just felt. It's amplified by the very silence they used to ignore. Stay with me. It gets deeper. Number 6. The absence created the contrast. People don't always notice the light until they're sitting in the dark you used to keep away. They didn't care when you left, because your absence hadn't fully settled into their bones yet. Not at first. At first, they were still riding the high of their ego, still telling themselves you'd be back, still believing the illusion they built in their head, that your presence was permanent, that your love would always be on tap, that you were just taking space, but would eventually circle back. But now the silence is louder than their excuses. Now the stillness is louder than their pride. Now the contrast is killing them. Because that's how it works. When someone's had a constant in their life for so long, your check-ins, your support, your warmth, your forgiveness, they start treating it like background noise. Like the hum of a refrigerator, always there, never noticed. until it shuts off. And suddenly, the silence feels wrong, unnatural, empty. That's what they're feeling now. Not just the void of your presence, but the weight of what they took for granted. And it's not just missing you, it's missing who they were when you were around. Because believe it or not, you made them feel better about themselves. You gave them peace in a world full of noise. You were a lighthouse in their storm. But they didn't recognize that until the light went out. Now, they're left with contrast. And contrast, my friend, is a cruel teacher. When someone's life has been colored by your presence, your laughter, your energy, your compassion, they don't realize how much light you bring until everything feels gray, until the texts stop, until the energy shifts, until no one checks in. No one cares like you did. No one loves with that softness you offered without conditions. And suddenly, they start to notice everything you were. The way you listened even when they didn't make sense. The way you stayed calm when they spiraled. The way you reminded them of their potential when they were ready to give up. All those little things they rolled their eyes at, brushed off, or worse, mocked. Now those things feel priceless. Now those things keep them up at night. Because here's the truth, they didn't just lose a person. They lost a feeling they can't recreate with anyone else. A feeling of being safe. Psychologically, this is called emotional contrast bias. It means that people often don't appreciate something until it's removed and replaced with something worse. And let's be real, nothing feels worse than emptiness. Nothing feels worse than knowing someone used to love you deeply. And now they're not even thinking about you. Now they're not even available. Not angry, not bitter, just gone. And that's what's destroying them, not your words, not your goodbye, but your lack of reaction. Because reaction means you still care. Reaction means they still have control. But your silence, that's the moment the mirror cracks. That's when they start replaying every moment you were there, every effort they ignored, every time they dismissed your needs while expecting you to meet theirs. And that's when the guilt creeps in. That's when the regret settles. That's when they realize you weren't just a chapter. You were the best part of the story. And now the book is closed. They underestimated what your absence would do to them. They thought they were strong enough to live without you. But what they didn't calculate was how deeply your presence had rewired their comfort. You became their emotional safety net, their familiar energy, their anchor. And when you cut the cord, not out of spite but out of self-respect, they were left floating in a reality that feels cold, uninviting, and uncertain. Meanwhile, look at you, healing in peace, choosing silence over chaos, choosing clarity over confusion. Not because you don't care, but because you finally realized that love shouldn't feel like a fight to be seen. You're no longer trying to prove your worth to someone who only valued it in your absence. And that, my friend, is power. Say it with me in the comments. My absence revealed the truth. Say it boldly, because it did. Your absence stripped away their delusions. It exposed what they refused to see while you were still there, that you were the one holding it all together. And now that you're not, they're unraveling. Stay close, because in the next section, we're going to explore how their ego kept them blind. But the pain is waking them up. And trust me, you'll want to hear it. Number 7. Their ego. Delayed the regret, but it didn't stop the collapse. The ego will lie to protect the heart, but silence always tells the truth. They didn't care when you left, not because they didn't feel it, but because their ego wouldn't let them. You walked away, and instead of reaching for you, they reached for their pride. They shrugged it off, acted cold, maybe even laughed with their friends like it was no big deal. But deep down, the cracks were already forming, because ego doesn't heal anything. It just hides the wound, hoping no one notices the bleeding. And now, the mask is slipping. See, the ego will say anything to avoid accountability. They were too emotional. They were never going to leave anyway. They'll come back. These were the lies they fed themselves to avoid facing the weight of what they lost. But ego doesn't have a long shelf life. Eventually, it spoils the very soul it's trying to protect. And now, the silence that once made them feel powerful is suffocating. At first, they played the role, untouched, unbothered, maybe even reckless, posting like they were free, like losing you was a relief. But you can't fake peace, not for long. Eventually, the pretending turns into pacing. The confidence turns into questioning. The silence they once used as a weapon has become a mirror. And in that mirror, they're seeing the truth, that they pushed away the one person who genuinely cared, and they did it with arrogance. Let me tell you something, my friend. Regret doesn't always hit like a thunderstorm. Sometimes it builds slowly in quiet moments, in old songs, in missed calls, in memories that sneak in when the room is too quiet. That's what they're dealing with now. The slow collapse of everything they told themselves to avoid admitting that you were the one. And now the ego that kept them feeling powerful is the very thing that's keeping them from healing. Why is this so painful for them? Because for so long, they believed they had time. They believed you'd always be around, that even if they hurt you, you'd come back, that your love was theirs by default. But now that you're gone, not just physically but emotionally, energetically, spiritually, they're forced to feel what they buried under ego. Loss. Real, gut-wrenching loss. And here's the kicker. They can't even talk about it, because doing so would mean admitting they were wrong, that they mishandled you, that they lost something rare. So they stay quiet, but inside, they're unraveling. The silence they once weaponized now circles them like a storm, and every time they think of reaching out, pride grabs their hand. Every time they want to say, "I miss you," ego whispers, "Don't look weak." But weakness isn't in saying, "I miss you." Weakness is pretending you don't. And that's the trap they're in now. Psychologically, this is called ego-preserving behavior, where someone avoids vulnerability at all costs to maintain a sense of superiority or control. But the cost, it's high. They might save face, but they lose connection. They might protect their image, but they destroy intimacy. And in the end, they're left alone with their pride, and nothing else. You, on the other hand, you broke the cycle. You let go of needing their validation. You walked away, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped begging to be chosen. And now your silence is doing what your words never could. It's showing them who really held the power all along. They used to think silence was passive, that it meant you were weak, waiting, hoping. But now, they know better. Your silence is your boundary, your clarity, your peace. And the longer it goes on, the more they realize. They lost you, not in some dramatic goodbye, but in a moment of stillness they never thought would last. So let them sit with it. Let them wrestle with the weight of their own choices. Because ego can't love. It can only defend. And until they learn to drop the shield, they'll keep losing what matters most. And you've already moved beyond that battlefield. Say it with me in the comments. I choose peace over pride. Let that be your anchor, your affirmation, your reminder that walking away doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Because you don't have to prove anything to someone who refused to see your value when it was right in front of them. And what's coming next? It's the final piece. The part they never saw coming. The version of you they'll never have access to again. Stay close. Let's finish this. Number 8. They're haunted by the version of you they'll never see again. You don't miss the person, you miss the access. And once that's gone, nothing feels the same. They didn't care when you left because they believed you'd always be reachable. In their mind, you were still emotionally available, still soft for them, still one message away. They thought they had time, thought they could take a little break from you, explore their distractions, silence their guilt with pride. And when they were ready, you'd be there. But what they didn't expect is that you'd change. Not just a new haircut, not just a glow-up for show. No, you evolved from the inside out. And now they're haunted by the version of you that no longer exists. The version that texted first. The version that explained, over-explained, begged to be seen, hoped for the bare minimum. The version that would have forgiven them just for showing a sliver of effort. That version is gone. And what they're left with? Memories. Memories that don't call back, that don't check in, that don't wait. At night, when the world goes quiet and the noise fades, they feel it. The ghost of your presence. The way your energy used to hold them, even when your hands didn't. The sound of your voice when they were too stubborn to ask how you were doing, but secretly hoped you'd reach out anyway. They replay it all, over and over, because they didn't realize what you were until they lost access to it. And now, it's like trying to tune into a radio station that's gone offline. The frequency doesn't exist anymore. You see, they don't miss you. They miss who you were to them. The unconditional, the understanding, the one who stayed when they didn't deserve it. They don't regret what they did as much as they regret who they did it to. Because, let's be honest, they didn't think you'd grow. They thought you'd wait, that you'd always need their closure, that you'd hold on to that unfinished story, that chapter they left wide open. But instead, you started writing a new book. One they're not in. Psychologically, this is called narcissistic injury. When someone loses control over a person they believed they could always count on to validate their self-worth. You were their emotional safety net. Not because they loved you right, but because your love made them feel worthy. Even if they couldn't return it. Even if they didn't deserve it. And when you took that energy back, when you poured it into yourself instead of them, it created a vacuum they can't fill. They try, though. Don't think they don't. They look for pieces of you in other people, in new conversations, in temporary distractions. They chase the feeling. That feeling of being seen, of being forgiven, of being loved without having to earn it. But nothing hits like the version of you they lost. And now, that absence is their new reality. And the silence, that's the part they didn't prepare for. Because you didn't just cut them off, you healed. You became unavailable, not to punish, but to protect your peace. You stopped replying, not because you were angry, but because you were no longer the same person who needed the closure. You didn't disappear. You evolved, quietly, powerfully, with grace. And now, the version of you they once knew is nothing more than a memory they can't relive. And let's be clear, you didn't change to make them miss you. You changed because you finally missed yourself more. You started showing up for the version of you that was always showing up for them. And once you started choosing you, that's when everything shifted, the roles reversed, the dynamics snapped. And now they're stuck in the very space they created. Emptiness. You're not hiding. You're not bitter. You're not playing games. You're just no longer reachable. And that's the part that hurts them the most. Not that you left, but that you're no longer accessible. You're no longer emotionally available to be drained, dismissed, or delayed. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.